As horrible as the crisis was that we experienced with Vioxx, with at least 100,000 Americans killed because of the use of Vioxx, the crisis that we are experiencing and we will continue to experience because of the use of female hormone replacement therapy will literally dwarf the crisis we experience with Vioxx.
The era of hormone replacement therapy began in the 1960s. So we have in 1966, there was a book written called Feminine Forever by a Dr. Robert Wilson, and he said that based on his study that women at menopause go through a change, their ovaries fail, they cease to make estrogen, they become characters of their former selves, and in fact, the changes lead them to becoming eunuchs. So Dr. Robert Wilson said that he had the solution to help women through this time of living decay, and his solution was the use of estrogen replacement therapy. In 1976, everything changed because two studies came out simultaneously in two different medical journals explaining why over the previous 10 years there was an 800% increase in uterine cancer.
10 million American women today are taking estrogen replacement therapy, and they're doing so for one reason, because their doctor told them it was the best thing for them. But the fact of the matter is, there is no evidence that estrogen replacement therapy reduces osteoporosis significantly. There's no evidence that estrogen replacement therapy can reduce the risk of heart attack.
Hundreds of thousands or perhaps millions of women that are using female hormone replacement therapy, erroneously using these drugs, are at significant risk for heart disease, for breast cancer and other cancers, and yet they're widely used here across America.
For so many years, we assumed everything the doctors said was actually evidence-based. And the fact of the matter is, much of what physicians are doing is just based upon the fact that that's what they were taught to do.
A lot of women's choices are based on the myths. So the myths that we run out of estrogen, that menopause is the beginning of a downhill slide. If we don't have supplementation, everything will just fall apart and we'll wither up and have fractures and be a mess, really drives women to look for solutions. And because they don't have access to truthful information, they're going to go back to what is known and what is still being recommended by many medical doctors.
The scientific literature is literally flooded with information about complementary therapies that can help women who are postmenopausal, that can prevent osteoporosis. And this approach, this more functional approach, actually works much better without the side effects that not only improve their current state of health, but will prevent diseases that people might get later on in life.
Some of the most effective things that have been used for alleviating symptoms includes vitamins such as vitamin E and vitamin C, hesperidin, black cohosh, Vitex, Dong Quai. There's a Peruvian herb called maca. Women are really frightened because of how we have portrayed menopause. But in fact, there are cultures around the world where menopause is essentially a non-event, moving from one stage of life gracefully into another stage of life. And it's rarely accompanied with symptoms. We have, in Japan, for instance, Japanese women never experience hot flashes. They may get some stiff necks, they may get some headaches, they never get hot flashes. So the symptoms that we associate in the Western world with menopause are really symptoms of imbalance. They're symptoms of poor health. They are symptoms created from a lifetime of, indulging in the lifestyles and the foods and the behaviors that actually compromise our health.
The United States is one of only 2 countries that so far has allowed pharmaceutical companies to advertise drugs retail to citizens. And this is the only country that has turned healthcare over to business as much as we have. And of course, businesses are mainly interested in maximizing profits and preparing for the next quarterly report.
PR goes a long way in cleaning up a dirty reputation.
Are the stars out tonight? I don't know if it's cloudy or bright, 'cause I only have eyes for you.
The United States and New Zealand, which has a population of only 4 million people, are the only two industrialized countries that allow direct-to-consumer advertising. People who come here from other countries think it's pretty bizarre that the public is being that drugs are being hawked to the public when it should be a scientific decision. Now, this is a real problem. When people go to their doctor and request a drug that they've seen advertised, their request is granted 45 to 80% of the time. And when a doctor grants that request, he or she is ambivalent that it's the right drug 50% of the time, whereas a doctor is ambivalent about the right drug being prescribed when it's not requested only 12% of the time.
One of the most troubling advertisements, and there are many troubling advertisements for these psychiatric drug products, is that ad that's being run by Pfizer for Zoloft, which clearly indicates to people that their depression or their anxiety is caused by an absence of some kind of neurotransmitter. And nowadays, most people know neurotransmitter serotonin. There's absolutely no scientific validity to this ad at all. There's no proof at all that depression is caused by chemical imbalance.
Direct-to-consumer advertising, I think, is a great disservice in general to the American people. We see these wonderful ads of these people, demonstrating their wonderful health, whether they're skating across the ice or they're doing their Tai Chi or whatever it is. And you get this visual impression, and Madison Avenue knows that a picture is worth 1,000 words, and so they convey an image and they convey a message, and it creates needs or desires where there really isn't a need or a desire.
Part of the problem in America is that through things like direct-to-consumer advertising, the drug company voice dominates the debate about healthcare. Now, this really narrows the focus onto pharmacological solutions to big public health problems. And the trouble with that is there's an opportunity cost, because all the other solutions, all the other potential treatments, all the other potential prevention strategies are pushed out, are overlooked, are ignored because of the dominance of this rich, powerful voice.
Enter a new era of discovery at Bristol-Myers Squibb, where groundbreaking genetic research is underway.
This phenomenon of using celebrities is used across the pharmaceutical industry and across many medical conditions. So for the selling of social anxiety disorder, we saw Ricky Williams used as part of the campaign by GlaxoSmithKline. The big problem here is that people often don't know that the celebrity is on the payroll, or money from drug companies is indirectly funding that celebrity campaign.
In these ads, you have the visual image, and that conveys one message. Then you have the speaker, who's in the background, who's speaking over this video that's being shown, and they're telling you what this drug is good for. And then at the end, the auctioneer gets on and says, this drug can cause, and they rattle off, 25 different things in 3 seconds, and you're lucky if you hear anything.
Side effects may include nausea, diarrhea, constipation, dizziness, sweating, tremor, sexual side effects, injury, yawn, abnormal vision, or sleep.
Direct-to-consumer advertising has just elicited this wave of demand, false demand. And then the doctors are just saying, okay, you want this drug, you want the purple pill, here's your script.
I didn't know. I didn't know.
Your doctor knows about a purple pill called Nexium.
There's a recent study in the Journal of the American Medical Association that showed that if patients mentioned a drug that they had seen on television to their physician, they were much more likely to be prescribed that drug by the doctor. And drug companies know this. That's why they do it. So I think that, for example, would the Viox disaster have been as great and as large in the absence of direct-to-consumer advertising? I submit that the numbers would have been far lower than what they were.